Legends, we're in for our Sunday evening wrap up with Nikki. Can't wait for this one, guys. We've got three games to go through, and then we're going to look at the best buys for next week. We had a lot of teams there that didn't play and become a lot more relevant, especially the Bunnies and the Titans. And there's a few guys on our lips, and we'll discuss them whether we think who's a priority. Would you try and get all of them? And is there any guys down here from the Cowboys like with Drinkwater that you might go for, or even a Storm player, even though they have a bye in round 15. So, welcome in, Nikki. Thankfully, yourself, mate, an owner of Lucas and Fletcher Sharpe in that Knights clash.
Yeah, I had a bit of a rant last week about bringing Sharpe in for his worst game of the year, but it worked out this week, so
Oh, goodness.
all smiles.
Hey, there's some tackle bus game this week. I think Tamale just went for 10 as well. There's a few above the above that 10 mark with Lucas and Sharp leading the way there.
Yeah, until he still only scored a 34 or something, whatever it was to Mali.
Yeah.
That's could have been much better, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to him shortly on if we think he's a hold or not. But yeah, it changes a lot, doesn't it? We had a few guys on this Saturday night, like Savala, that come out with a really good score, and now the question is, are they a sell? Might just go quickly to that one there. What are your thoughts on Savala now? At he's at what, just close to that 400k mark. Would you look to sell him if he was one of the only guys you could use as a good upgrade, or would you try and hold for a few weeks until Walker comes back?
I mean, you could hold. The thing is, it was a 50, was it 53 with a try, with a couple of try assists. There was a lot of attacking stats in there, and still only a 53.
Mm.
So it could easily drop down to 30 again next week. So yeah, like I don't mind if he's one of the ones you've got to upgrade. Because the thing about the next few weeks, the minor buy rounds is our teams are going to be basically stacked.
Mm.
So these kind of mid-range guys who could go well, could go average, you probably want to limit those as best you can, or at least be able to loop them. So in the next few weeks, I mean, you might want it depends, you can look forward with your team. If you need him for around 15, you could keep him, but yeah, all those mid-range guys, I think for the next few weeks, if you've got the opportunity to upgrade, it could be a good opportunity.
That's gonna be a good question too. Is who's gonna leave that side? Is it gonna be Sandon or is it gonna be Savala? Savala's a bit more of a
Mm.
organizer, but Walker loves to have the team to himself. And I don't know. I feel like Savala would take more of a step back, and let Walker do his thing, where Sandon really just seems to want his hands on the ball a lot. I don't know. It's a tough one because he could be out the side. Savala, he could keep that spot
Mm.
still.
Yeah.
But yeah, probably not too important. Hey, I don't think he's gonna win us any comps, Savala. But personally, I wish I didn't trade in the end and just took the 53. That would have been nice rather than bringing Garrick in. But heading back to
Yeah.
that,
I didn't get the most out of my loops this week. He was my non-playing player,
yeah,
but I ended up with Jenkins and Tamale and these guys. So
yeah.
I didn't really get the peak score I could have, but yeah.
Mm, thankfully, not too bad. But yeah, Lucas was incredible. He did hold on to that shoulder for a second there, but it was a weird one actually. He was kind of, for a guy with a bung shoulder, he was coming out of the line trying to put hits on and missing a few tackles. Hey, like with 6 missed tackles. I'm hoping that turns around next week. But as a ball runner, what a freak!
Yeah, that was so weird. I wasn't actually watching the scores through that game, so I don't know. Do you know what he was on at halftime?
I
Because it
think
felt
just
like he was on about 100 at halftime and then um, just shut up shop a little bit in the second half.
just after half time, he was 75,
Yeah.
which is pretty crazy.
And he
So yeah,
finished
that was
84 or something. Yeah, just
yeah. I was on the way to the Roosters game. Got to watch that at Gosford. That was good fun. But mate, Gagai and KPP. What are your thoughts on that KPP game? Is it just a matter of them going left in this one? But he had a lot of missed tackles as well.
yeah, like it's hard, and it does happen in some games for both edges to go really, really well. If you've got if you've got they obviously that first half they kind of realized, right, Lucas has got a really great opportunity here, so we're
Yeah.
going to feed him, we're going to feed him, and obviously that was the right decision. But it does mean KPP is just not going to get the same amount of ball. Um, but I mean, yeah, like it's a lowish game, but it's still fine.
That's
Like
great.
it's
Yeah.
still absolutely fine to hold going forward. Um, I'm not sure if you want to target him now. I guess you still could, but
Mhm.
yeah, like if you've got him, you'd be a bit if you had him and not Lucas for whatever reason, you'd be a bit frustrated. But like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's still absolutely fine.
Yeah, well, that's right. I think he's definitely taken that step up this year compared to last. Like that game, he wouldn't have got the line break. Would have been like a 43 game or something like that. And he just keeps finding a way to get to 50, which is good. And especially with guys like Aitken and Kolo coming on the radar, I think we know that those guys have a little bit more pedigree and upside compared to someone like KPP, but a very clear hold. Gagai, back in business to this one, but do you think it was more just a matter of the opponent that they had from with Panthers? I just thought had awful defense, and Gags not exactly back, but just a good game.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. He had the goal kicking as well,
Yeah,
so that would have popped him up a little bit that you won't have normally going forward. So yeah, I'm not convinced it's the guy of the last couple of years where he'd be a keeper level center, but you know they don't have without Best on the other side, he'll probably be more of a focal point.
yeah,
But yeah, I'm not. He wouldn't be somebody I'd look to target. I don't think.
yeah, yeah. It seemed like it was a perfect storm this week. Two youngsters on the left and him getting the goal kicking as well. Which if Ponga gets injured or doesn't back up, then he keep that, and he kicked pretty well to be fair, kicking four out of their 24 points. So yeah, good stuff. If you did
Yeah,
buy,
yeah.
but probably
It's an
hold off from
interesting
now.
one for this. I mean, I see what your point about Sharpe as well. Of we've seen how Pong has been going
Hmm.
all year, and then they moved to Sharpe to fullback, and how electric he looked. I don't think there's a question. I think Ponga does go back. They tried the Ponga at six experiment before, and that
That's the
failed
problem, I
miserably.
think.
So
Yeah.
yeah, but like this week, the Knights play on Friday night this week, and with the injuries and niggles or whatever that Ponga's been carrying, there's probably a pretty low chance that he backs up.
Yeah.
Wednesday night to Friday night. So we could get another game of Sharpe at fullback this week, as well as the other bye rounds that they play, which could be quite exciting.
Yeah, definitely. What do you guys in the comments think they're going to do with this scenario? And especially if let's just say Ponga doesn't back up and Shark comes out and looks awesome again. What do you do there? Because yeah, you can't put him at six, I don't think. But yeah, that'd just be another merry-go-round with their spine, wouldn't it? Which is crazy. But yeah, I don't know how much to take out of this game with Panthers just being awful. They were pretty awful with all their guns, and then take them out and just like Lucas just going straight through holes, and like he ran awesome ball and he should have had four tries. But overall they just weren't very good at all. Panther side of things, we had the battle of the couple of guys that you could have bought this week to cover Isaiah Yeo, and it was Liam Henry and Lindsay Smith. But there's a few people that bought Liam Henry, mate. It was a bit of a tough watch with the sin bin
Yeah.
and a HI8. He's still got 40 though. What are your thoughts on him with that pick and going forward?
I mean, you probably got away with it with the sin bin with the HIA. Could have gone much, much worse. Um, yeah, like without the problem with the Panthers were that they only played this first bye round.
Hmm.
So the advantage that you'd get could have been a good play for the 1 week. But then you probably need to sell going forward. If they had like the Rooster schedule, the Bulldog schedule or something, could have worked out, could have had that additional runway to get a few goes at it and a few good scores. But yeah, 40s. I mean, it's fine. Like Hosking scored less than that.
Yeah.
Those type of guys we're scoring around that level, so it's not a disaster. But yeah, probably not what you wanted if you took the gamble.
Yeah, thankfully very cheap. And I suppose the way I look at it with these guys is it's at least a hold till that 16 game, which I think looks like Yo's going to be out, which will help both these guys.
Mm,
But
mm,
likely Liam Martin and all that as well. So I suppose there's a
yeah.
chance that these guys don't
Mm,
back up, or it's less minutes, and you get a good one this week. But again, do
mm.
you have them in your starting 13 next week? So
Yeah,
Henry,
that's
I
the thing.
think,
Even with 16, with the minor buy rounds, you're going to have a pretty stacked team. So
yeah.
it do you know is would he get a place in a minor buy round with the Panthers out compared to the major buy rounds when
Yeah.
we've got more options?
It definitely makes it interesting this year with that, doesn't it? Because it's a new system for us, and we've got to decide, how we get all of the top guns in the sides and in the right positions too, right? We need to
Hmm.
be 13
Yeah.
strong across the board, not just all in edge or all in mid or however it works. How are you feeling about those minor buys, and are you sort of targeting them in a way or looking to push to get really strong 13s?
So that was the plan. Um, Now I'm in a kind of weird situation where I look at my team for next week and it's kind of fine. Like, it's like, yeah, that's a decent team. I've there's the likes of obviously Colin Matangi, Aitken, the guys that we can really target, Jaden Campbell. But then I'm leaving out some pretty good players to get them in. And then so do you
Mm.
just, save the trades and kind of prioritize them later on? The fact that I've held Yo through the period just out of not out of particularly wanting to, but just having to with all the injuries and the carnage and things like that means he's kind of an interesting one next week that as a pod
Mm.
for the next couple of weeks, assuming that and a lot of the stuff will change depending on how Origin goes. If they look banged up, if then things will change. But assuming he normally backs up pretty well, the Panthers need to get some wins on the board. They play on this Sunday, so there's a lot that would kind of suggest that you will play big minutes.
Mm.
But he's my easy route to the likes of a Colin Matangi and those guys. So the question is kind of, do I hold Yo for the next couple of weeks? He's definitely a sell in 15. So do I hold for the next couple of weeks and then go to a Colin Matangi and those guys in 15? But in that time, Colin Matangi is going to go up 100K or
Yeah, he's the worry, isn't he?
some stupid amount now. So
Mm.
yeah, it'll depend this week on are there any injuries? I didn't see it. I heard people talking about Hosking hobbling off in the last minute of the Raiders game.
Mm.
Hopefully that's nothing, but if that becomes something, then when these guys will be the route. Also, if a cheapie comes along, if Galvin is officially done from the Tigers and
Yeah.
Latu Peinu is ready to come back in the next week or so, there's an easy cheapie cash down type of guy that we can get in, and then those upgrades become easier to go to the 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 higher level guys.
Just sell
Because
Payne
I've got
Haas,
a few
mate.
guys. I
Uh,
started with him and thought, you know what, this isn't working. I got rid of him in like week 3. It was terrible. Just what a
yeah,
waste
that's
of
right. Just 50 and just straight to the sell bin. Yeah.
money.
Good.
Yeah, I've got a lot of those mid rangers that I'd love a downgrade upgrade type thing, like the
Mm.
Hubners and Jenkins and Savalas, Tamales, all these guys.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, if Fainu is an option in the next couple of weeks, I think that definitely helps with those upgrades.
Would you look at a clear sort of cash down to try and facilitate something like that at this point of the season? Is that a thing?
So I considered it a bit last week or this week with Hopeye.
Yeah.
My my kind of concern was with I've got King Tonga already, who's in that pretty much in that clear cash down position of somebody you're not going to want to play very often. So if you had two of them, if you had King Tonga and say Hopeye, and then round 14 when the Roosters are on a bye, and you might have so I've got Savala and Mark, but people might have Wong and
Teddy.
Teddy and but them still holding on to Nap White. That could be quite a hard week if you get an injury or two or a suspension with to guys that you want to hold on to. You could be kind of delving into the end of your bench, and if you've got a couple of pure cash outs, that's not going to help too much. So you can I think having one is fine, especially with the minor buy rounds being the way they are. It gives us more. There's more weeks where we don't have to worry about that pure bottom end of the
Yeah.
bench. But the more guys you have, it just opens up that risk to a week where you've got injuries, suspensions, a bye that doesn't suit your team, and if you have to play them, it's a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah. I suppose if you can cop the, I don't know, mid to late 20s or a 30, it might not be the end of the world if things don't go wrong, go right. But maybe the other question is in that scenario, if you were to drop Savala down to one of those guys,
Hmm.
he'll be over 400K. But is that enough cash down, like let's just say you go to a 250 guy, it's 150K. Does that help you a lot? Maybe not. So trades become fairly valuable that at that point for sure. All right, let's keep rolling on. Jenkins, happy to sell now after getting through this one.
Yeah, yeah. The
Look
the
at
news that he was
that.
starting it, yeah, that really, really saved him. That try saver on who was it? Was Sharpe, wasn't it? The one where he was basically gone over the line and he managed to get him from behind and turn him. That was some of the try savers they give are so uh, generous, let's put it that way, where there's a pile of guys on the line and oh, you just happen to be underneath, so you get given a try saver. But
Mm.
that one was a genuine, yeah, you deserve those points, mate. Well done. But yeah, especially now, especially now after being named. Well, wasn't named in the center, but I think he was beforehand. There was word that he was going to play center and then back on the wing again. I don't really understand what's going on there,
Yeah,
to
it's
be
kind of
fair, but
all over the shop, wasn't
I
he?
think
Because yeah, he was dropping back for kicks as well. So yeah, but he's done a job. 30 odd, two try saves and a turnover tackle there in that one. Now for the Sharkies, made pretty awful in this one. I thought defense and discipline was really down, and Daniel Tupou really incredible, and Savala took over compared to what we've seen with him and Sandon. Usually it's been the Sandon show, but he was quiet. Apart from his goal kicking, was absolutely pure. But Iro, every freaking game, what a freak, and try assist as
yeah.
well.
Yeah, what can you say? Just guaranteed anytime try scorer, free money every week. Get on it.
Apparently, him and
Yeah,
Farnworth just back to back at the
exactly.
moment. Although we had a little quiet stint at the start, but yeah, like one of the top three kind of centers there. So post their bye, he becomes pretty interesting around 14, I think. McInnes, you brought in, you would have been pretty ecstatic about that try, but what's the go with the 52? Just wasn't happening. Too much time behind the
Yeah.
sticks.
Well, how many minutes did he play? Let's just
Fair few.
see.
It was like 60 or something.
Uh, 51.
Oh, was it? Oh, actually, right. That's right. I was like, where is he? But he was on near
Yeah,
40 by
so
that time. Like,
yeah. I mean, that's what like he is the type of guy that he gets, line break try with a tackle break or two involved. You think, right, that's a 60 guaranteed, and you
hmm,
hope for a bit more. So yeah, when you look at the end and you see he's on a 52, you kind of like, well, what happened there? But it's the minutes, and I got him, and it worked out this week, not so much last week, over AFB
sure.
because I thought he would be a bit more stable in terms of the minutes and the production, whereas AFB will have that more up and down.
Yeah, we've seen that.
Yeah, boom games and kind of lesser games. But I was just surprised, like, yeah, Funua Blake played 59 and McInnes got 51. I would more expect McInnes to be the bigger minute guy out of those two, and then you take that Blake will have a better PPM. But yeah,
Mm.
it's weird. But they've been doing it all year, and McInnes. I know Mitch. Mitch loves him. He's his favorite fantasy player. He's always been a frustration for me because you just never seem to get a good idea of how many minutes he'll
No.
play. Is he going to play 50 minutes? Is he going to play 70 minutes? And
Mm.
his scoring is just so um tied to that time on the field. So
Yeah.
yeah, a bit annoying, but the try. I mean, it's better than the mid 30s that he might have got
Yeah.
without getting the try. So saved it in the end.
Yeah. And looking at AFB, the tackle numbers were down for 59 minutes. But I think probably the big thing with the minutes in this one is that they were behind. And at that point is like, do we bring on McInnes or AFB? And we
Yeah.
try and bring in it in the game breaker. So that part made sense. But yeah, they seem to be pretty up and down together. They'll play pretty big minutes together and then kind of drop down a bit. But yeah, AFB trying to change that game. So he was 42 there, pretty low. Running was good, like he had three tackle breaks and 180 meters, something like that, which was nice. But yeah, just the tackle numbers, no offloads, which hurt him. But yeah, Roosters put 42 on, so scratch that one. Come back in round 14 after the bye. Hynes still trying to find his line break. Don't know where that was, but just so hard for him to get that consistency with not kicking the footy, right? Like he only got 3 or 4 points in that side of the ball, and they got smacked. So I don't know. I couldn't expect too much more than that. Was hoping for a little bit more at 26 and a half time. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I got him a few weeks ago with the kind of or not the expectation, the hope of at least one or two boom games in this period.
Mm.
Those big 70s. Like he's not the Nico Hines of previous years, and I think we'll kind of realize that we're not going to get the best scorer in fantasy anymore. But he still has, you would think, these games where like he'll score a try, he'll get some offloads, like he'll break the game open a bit and he'll get a 70, 80 and he'll look really good doing it.
Mm.
And the last month just just hasn't happened, has it? He's getting 50s, he's getting try assists, he's getting involved. It's not like he's
He looks good in
not
attack, to
in
be honest.
games. Yeah, but it's just not translating. And
Yeah.
yeah.
He just doesn't have the
But
extra ten
yeah,
points or
and
so and running and all that. Yeah.
yeah. And he's the type of guy that you can't sell as well, because you know that big game is in there somewhere. So we'll keep
Mm.
rolling him out. We'll keep rolling him out. You'll keep getting 50 odd. And yeah, it'll be frustrating.
He'll be fine. Yeah, he's been mid 50s or so since I bought him, so pretty well exactly where I bought. Nikora, just a no this year for me, mate. What are your thoughts around him? Do you sell? Do you just hold on if you bought?
I think if you have him, you hold.
Mm.
I mean, I guess they're not playing next. So they've got to buy next week. That shouldn't be an issue. Um, they play the next, they play 15. I think you'll at least hold through 15 and see how it goes from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's he has the big attack in him. So there will be a game. It could, as soon as the next week he could get 60, 70 with a couple of tries. The same as Hynes. You know it's there,
Yeah.
and that's the frustrating bit. But yeah, Hynes looks more likely than Nicker at the moment.
Definitely. Onto the Roosters, mate. Blake Seep, just wanted to shout him out. Too good. Great PPM, high score of the game, I believe. Off the Roosters anyway. We had Radley next up. Just wanted to shout out the guys that did buy, and I saw a few in the private crew that picked up his 59, but I can't recommend him. Just 30s every week, eh? He got a good score in there. He played well. Played well.
Yeah.
Savala we spoke about. Teddy, mate, I think he could have scored a lot more. Still got 50, so he's just a keeper, isn't he? Is there a world where you look at buying him next week, or are you looking at round 14 as a bit of a worry game for you?
Yeah, I think so I was looking, he was a big target of mine this week. I ended up going Garrick instead,
Yay.
just
That
just
was
for the
me.
price. It was just an easy, I could go straight from Egan to Garrick in one trade, and it was like, fine, I'll just make the one
Ah,
trade
okay. Yeah, yeah, makes sense.
without having to worry about Teddy. And then again, keep the money for. I think there's better targets for the next week, the Colos and Aitkens and Campbells and these guys. But Teddy's up there. Like he's a guy. If you get him in any week,
Hmm.
then he'll be a keeper level guy for you for the rest of the year. So you can get him any week and he wouldn't really complain. But yeah, I think depending on how your team's looking with Roosters for 14, you might want to hold on till after that. But if you don't have many Roosters, you could get him at any point, and that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, I'm keen to dive in a bit deeper this week and discuss that one, Teddy or JC. JC definitely has more upside, but yeah, Teddy we know has the 70s and 80s like we saw a few weeks ago, and a game like that last night could have happened that way. Nawangani Tawaze, a really good game for him again. Slow and steady, he kind of got there, and he got that try assist right in front of me, and that hurt being a non-owner. My partner
Yeah.
has
Oh,
has him in a side, and she was happy with that. But yeah,
yeah. I
well
needed that
played.
as well. I was worried in that first half. He was on a pretty low score, and then Ronaldo just smashed him in the face with that kind of flying shoulder tackle. And I
Mm.
thought he's gone. You saw the replays, and it's like he's done. But he's
Seemed okay,
he's
hey?
obviously he's a tough lad.
Yeah.
Didn't even go for the check. So and then yeah, he showed up with a try and then the try assist in the end. So yeah, it's not he's relying on the attacking stats. He's kind of he's not a hard watch because he's so fun, but if he doesn't get the tries and the try assists, then his scoring, his errors are through the roof. Remember
Yeah.
him? How was his errors this week? I was only he was only -10, no, -12 this week. So that's pretty good by his standards.
Mm.
But yeah, he loves a negative, and that can there'll be a week where he doesn't score a try, and it'll be a bit painful, I think. But yeah, he's a fun he's a fun guy to have.
Yeah, it's impressive in attack. Sandon Smith feels very similar to Savala. They're actually, not too far away in price, so make that decision in the next few weeks. Probably depends on who keeps the spot. Siwa Wong, I didn't play him this week, got the 47. Just seems to be maybe a high 40s guy now. So I think holding and selling over the next while is completely fine. Probably depends on if you're buying, Kolomatangi and Aitken, these types of guys, like then he probably isn't as important. But would you just say just sort of check your numbers and where you're at for around 15 and the like and decide then?
Yeah, and this week again, Mike minor buy round. Do you need him? So if you're not playing him in a major buy round, are you going to play him in a minor buy round
Yeah.
where we have
Oh,
more people available?
he beat Hosking.
Um, yeah, well, there is that. So yeah, look, if you don't need him this week and they're on the buy next week, then it becomes, and then you don't want him in 16. Again, just depending on how your team looks, then it's an you can easily sell in. But if he's a useful guy, if you need him, and you can upgrade, you can make changes elsewhere and trades elsewhere and upgrade and play him those weeks, then yeah, you can hold. But I think at this stage our teams are going to start getting we're going to start getting pretty stacked, and he's a guy you can move on.
Yeah, just solid. For the Raiders, I think Fogarty's probably still a buy at the moment. Misses 15, yes, but he plays 18. And if you need to cover Katoa and Hynes, then I think that really works. The Smithies one was interesting, mate. Looks like the minutes are on offer and back-to-back good scores. Is he someone that you could buy, or is it a bit of a just a weird one right now?
Yeah, again, it's the minor buy rounds. Because if you got him, I mean, I think you probably, if you're going to buy him, I think you wanted him for this week.
Yeah,
Again, next week, we're going to have a lot of people are going to have Haas and May and Tapane, and like I've got Yo, and you might still have Horsburgh. We can talk about Horsburgh.
yep,
But like, I mean, if you brought Smithies in this week, are you going to play him this week? And then they're in the buy round on 15 as well. So
yeah.
yeah, I think you
This
probably
is the
want
week.
them. You probably wanted to get him in for this week if you were getting him.
Yeah, and congrats to buyers. Him and Tavanga were the wins of the week, basically. Now, Horse, Starling, Tamale. Give us your verdict on them with round 12 out of the way and they're missing round 15
So yeah, hold. Yeah, probably hold both
for
Horse and
now this
Starling.
week.
Yeah, for now, yeah, I think so. Well, again, it's all about what your team is like in round 13. And it's hard to. It's a completely different kind of thing now with these minor buy rounds.
Yeah.
That if you don't need them, then yeah, you'd have no problem selling. But if you want to play them, that's absolutely fine. So like Starling, if you have if you had say Clark in your mids and you want to move him to hooker for next week, then sure, you're not going to play him 13, he misses 15, so you can sell. That's fine. But if you need him for your hooker in
Yeah.
13, then fine. Again, it's there's not a desperate sell. 40 with a bin is a 50 plus in a normal week. That's fine. Same with Horsburgh. I mean, Horsburgh's been getting 50 pluses and not a whole lot more all year. So yeah, like I think these guys are perfectly fine to hold and then make a decision later on. But if you don't need them for these minor buy rounds, then again, I've got no issues getting selling them.
Yeah, it could be both those guys a decent price to move on to the Colos and those types of guys we'll speak about. All right,
Mm.
just with the Wars, shout out to Ford, massive game for him. Clark, just a slightly lower minutes was a little bit annoying given he was our captain, but I find him so important to that side. I feel like they held him off too long. As soon as he went off, that middle went to pieces, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is weird that the week that he's played lower minutes was the ones without Fisher Harris and
Yeah.
Barnett in there. But I mean, I think these ones sometimes we take a look at things from a fantasy lens too much, and he might have just been gassed. Like this is the thing; it might have been like, I need an extra 5 minutes, and then I can go on fully charged
Yeah.
and give it a bit more for the last ones. But yeah, it's hard to know what goes on in those the decision making for the minutes sometimes because it doesn't make a lot of sense to me a lot of the time. I assume there's some logic, and I think the sin bin might have played might have
Yeah.
played a little bit of a role in it as well, just messed up the rotations and they needed to bring Tamari Martin on to go at the back. Possibly that impacted the rotations a little bit. I don't.
Yeah,
It's all kind of
Halasima
guesswork.
came off, hey, for Tamati Martin. Yeah, interesting. It does seem
Yeah.
to mess around with them a fair bit too. But yeah, he was
Mm.
great. Another 61. What a jet. Love watching him play. Such an easy watch too when he's on there. He hits hard, does all the good runs. Less offloads and tackle breaks, but no missed tackles. What a jet. Just a quick one on the three. Metcalf, similar situation, right? Doing a job, just hold for now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, you could tell like he's up to, he's up over 700K now. It's so frustrating.
Crazy.
It's so frustrating that I think I held on more like longer than most, but then still managed to sell just before he went into that nuclear couple of weeks. And
All the boom.
he's given us exactly what we wanted when we started with him, and none of us held him through to see
Mm.
the benefit. But yeah, I mean, if you've got him, yeah, again, it's that whole thing around do you need him next week or not? If you've held on to a Cleary and you've got Fogarty or whatever, and you don't need a half, and then they don't play 15, and then you might not need him in 16, then yeah, you can move on. But again, 700K, that's a pretty good avenue to getting some of these guys we're talking about.
Yep. Yeah, Egan was a bit off here. 38 for him. Probably feels a little bit like a hold as well. And Halasima, just maybe the changes you said with Tomato Martin wrecked his minutes a little bit. Not his best score, but if he played the 80 like he has been, it'd be a mid 40s again. So he again just feels like a another clear hold and could have a really big game coming up for him sometime soon. Now, quickly, so we can get this video out, hey, to all you legends, we got the bunnies. Now, priority, Kolomatangi or Aitken? 57k difference, both scoring really, really well, and we know what Aitken can do on the edge, and we know what Kolomatangi can do in the middle. Or do you get both?
Absolutely no problems getting both. I think you want both, or I want both anyway, by round
Okay.
15. So this is the thing, it's getting them by round 15. Because if I look at my what I've got set up for round 15, it ain't very good. In the
Okay.
my backline's fine. My half centers, wing fullbacks, they're all there. I have no hooker and I have Cam McInnes. And then that's about it in terms of the forwards.
Well,
So yeah,
yeah.
these guys are basically. I mean, they're not us. I struggle to call a lot of people must-haves,
Mhm.
but they'll be very very good buys in the next few weeks. My issue, like I was saying, is that I'm not sure how I make that move. Yo out
The
is
hardest part, isn't
easily,
it?
yeah, and like that'll yo out will get me to at least one of them at some point. But whether I do it this week or do it in round 15 is kind of is the harder decision, I think, there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely the big one. Colo first or Aiken?
I'd go Colo mostly just for the dual position.
Okay,
I
cool.
think is a pretty big benefit when with these 13 playing 13, having that flexibility to move up and down depending on who you might have available. And only 50k difference. I think he'll be a better scorer as well. And for only 50k difference,
Yeah.
I think you'd get I'd prioritize Colo first.
Cool. They both basically have the same break even, and that's where they become more important. And I think they're probably more priority than
Mhm.
Campbell. But what makes Campbell more of a like in terms of break evens with the 60 odd for Campbell and the 49 he's coming off? What makes him more of a priority is the position at wing fullback or potentially half, where you have Katoa or Hynes or something like that out. And we really need Cleary to back up. Campbell
Yes.
comes up against Melbourne though, where we're not expecting a massive score from him. So that's where I think the conversation between him and Teddy could be interesting for this week. But would have been nice just buying Teddy instead of Garrick in the end. But we can't win them all, hey? But mate,
Be nice to win
Titans
some of them. I don't feel I've won very many this year, but
would be
that's
nice.
just me being negative.
That's right. You're allowed to when you're not going as well as last year. Um, yeah, you still have him pretty high on the priority list, Campbell.
Yeah, yeah. Like I think he's a guy because of his price. Um, like he's a guy that you want at some point, but you don't need to rush him in. Like the price and the break evens of the Colomatangis and Aitkens. I mean, those are the ones you want to get in first.
Yeah.
Campbell probably isn't going to change too much from his price in the next however long. So you can get him in later. That's absolutely fine. But yeah, it's the positional stuff that you need to prioritize. And for me, like looking at my team up to 15, it's
Mm.
those because I brought in like Drinky a couple of weeks ago, I brought Garrick in this week. I've kind of blocked up that wing fullback part now. But it's the mids and the edges that are now because I've got like Tapany and Hosking and these guys,
Yeah.
that miss 15. That's where my priority is.
Mm.
But if your
Yeah.
team's set up differently, obviously, then you target different things.
Yeah. And that's where looking at some of these Storm guys aren't as important, unfortunately. With round 15, they're missing. When you've got Colo, you've got Aitken that can, Eli Katoa is just not nowhere near a priority. Even guys like Pappenhausen, we're looking to improve round 15, four wing fullback, and, guys like Tamale out. Pap just doesn't help. And then, even Hughes just not playing well enough to be a factor, and he doesn't play 15. So that's the worry with those types of guys. Broncos, mate, no one really on the radar apart from Origin guys as well. Someone mentioned Ezra Mann, but we know his history, don't we?
Yeah, that was a trap. That's a trap game if ever there was one.
Drinky, mate, you own him. Do you think he's a really good buy still?
Yeah, I think again he's one that is going to be. I mean, you can put him in that same category as Teddy and the guys that you can kind of get at any point and
Mm.
then just lock them in for the rest of the year and not worry too much about it. Now, unfortunately, I got him in for his 18, which was a complete nightmare. But he could easily go back up to 60, 70 this week, and it'll even itself out in the end. They don't have a bye until last round, if I'm
Very
remembering
easy.
right.
Yeah, around
So
27.
yeah, it's just somebody you lock and load for the rest of the year. And yeah, he'll have some ups and downs, but it's just a spot you don't need to think about.
Yeah. Hamish Stewart becomes an interesting one this week at that mid range if you are looking for a mid to help out. That's probably it from the Dragons there. But yeah, it's really just those, the Bunnies and the Titans that become pretty interesting. Tigers, again, no one really of note apart from Terrell Mayer's captain next week. Can't wait for that again. I've missed you and your thousands of points. Warriors there,
After all the thinking as captain this week, everybody, I mean, all of the options
very
just kind of
similar.
got around the same thing in the end. So
Hey, we picked the
yeah, I
right
think
one.
that's not my team.
Hey, oh, sorry, it's a private group team.
Oh
I,
yeah,
s- I
yeah,
said we
yeah.
picked
Well,
we picked the right one with Clark. So,
I I had Tapani,
oh,
so
did you? Okay.
I lost out on
Oh,
a
four
whole four
points.
points. So
Bloody
yeah,
hell, Nikki. Hey, that's the tale of your season, mate. Unfortunately.
this is it. Every little 50-50 call goes wrong.
And to the bloke in the comments that was saying something about, oh, he went against Nicky's thoughts and he's doing really well. Nicky's doing but Nicky did better than you where you are ranked right now last year. So come back when you make the top 100 and we'll talk then. But mate, big thanks for coming on. Plenty of targets. It's just going to be about how we get them in our side this week. So let's watch Origin, see how that goes, and see who backs up, and then we can decide. I think, hey, it's pretty simple that way this week.
Yeah, don't lock anything in until we see the game.
Go the Blues. Are you a Blues
Go
or
Blues.
you a Blues man?
I'm wearing the
There you go.
I'm wearing blue. I'm Scottish, so